Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Jaeger Anderson with Jaeger Anderson Photography, and today we're going to be going over how I set up my frequency separation in Photoshop. If you're interested in learning more about photography, retouching, or how to market your photography business, please consider subscribing. I'm trying to grow this channel and love to have you along for the journey. So before we dive in, let's talk a little bit about what frequency separation is. Frequency separation is a process where you take the high layer and the low layer of an image and you separate them out. Makes a lot of sense, right? So the high information of an image is all the texture and the low information is all the color. The color's below and the texture sits on top. The reason why we do this as retouchers is because it allows us for greater control over how we edit our images. The process that I'll be sharing with you today is one that I learned from a phenomenal retoucher by the name of Earth Oliver, and I'll put his Instagram below so you can be sure to give him a follow. Let's get started. All right, so we have our image here, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this background layer twice. We're going to name this low, L-O-W, there we go. And we're going to name this one high. All right. Now we're going to turn off our high layer and we're going to convert our low layer to a smart object. So the reason why we converted our low layer to a smart object is because we're going to be applying filters. And if we want to make changes in the future and we don't necessarily like how we apply those filters, rather than having to do the process all over again, we can just go into the smart object, double click on it, and make the changes right there. This process of editing, where you create smart objects or you create multiple layers for each process of your editing, is known as non-destructive retouching. All right, now that we've created our low layer, we're going to apply a median filter. So we're going to go filter, noise, median. And what we're going to do here is we're going to look here, I'm going to zoom in, and anything that disappears, so I'm going to bring this down to a radius of 1, so you can see all the texture here. So as things disappear, they're going to exist only on the high layer. And so there are some areas where the texture still pops through, right? There's like a little mole here or a pimple here, and that still pops through, but I'm not going to stress about that. I think right around 12, maybe 15. I think 15 is good. That removes the majority of the texture, and I think that will work well. So I'm going to commit to that. And then I'm going to apply the filter again. So filter, noise, median, 15, and I'm going to press enter. Now that we've created our low layer, we're going to create a stamp visible layer, Command Option Shift E, and this is going to be the layer that we work on. I'm going to call it worker low. And then I'm going to clip it by holding on the Alt and clicking between the two layers to our low layer. And the reason why I'm doing that is because that is part of the non-destructive process. Any of the work I want to do, I want it to be on this layer so that if something goes wrong, I can always come back to this bottom low layer here and make any adjustments I need to. So we have a working layer and we have sort of our original low median filtered layer here. All right, now that we have that out of the way, let's go to our high layer. So I will turn the high layer on and I will select it, and then I will go to image and apply image. And we already have subtract selected because this isn't my first time running frequency separation. So in this menu, in the blending menu, you want to make sure that you have subtract selected. And you want to make sure that you have a scale of 2 and an offset of 128. We're going to hit OK. All right, and from there, we are going to go from our normal down to linear light. Now that we've done that, you'll notice that nothing really looks different, and that's because we've created an exact mirror of our high layer to our low layer. So if I turn everything off, you can see absolutely nothing changes from the original background layer. Perfect. That's exactly what we want. So just like with the worker low layer, we're going to want to create a worker high layer. So I'm going to hit Command J to duplicate. And now you'll notice this looks pretty crunchy, right? You see how that looks very sharp and has a lot of texture. Yeah, we don't want that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna clip this, and that still looks awful, and we're gonna change it from linear light to normal. And now everything is back to normal. Turn it off and on just to double check. And that is it. We have successfully set up our frequency separation for this portrait. Now that we have successfully set up the frequency separation for this photograph, I'm going to show you sort of how I go about doing the editing and what the significance is of using frequency separation. All right, so if we go back here and we're on our high layer, I'm gonna hit J for our patch tool, zoom in. And what I can do is I can select from anywhere that is of the same texture that I want to adjust the skin. So any of these little pimples, I can just go over here and select and change it. So like this line here, I can get rid of that. And what's nice about this is that I don't have to worry about the color. The color is on a different layer, so it doesn't really matter. This is just moving anything that is of the same texture. So it's finding the texture and making adjustments. Now, let's go down to our worker low layer. Now, our worker low layer is where our color exists, right? So if we turn off our high layer, we'll see our color layer. And this is what we're working on right here. We're just working on color. So if we see things that look a little wonky or where areas where the transition can be a little smoother, this is where we're going to do it. We're going to use a mixer brush, not a normal brush, but a mixer brush right here. And you get there by selecting Shift B a few times, and you'll see it's the brush with the little water droplet there. We're going to select a low flow. I have 1% for my flow. And we can go in here and just do a little brushing. And we are just affecting the color, not the texture. And this is going to look a little extreme for this example. I'm doing this kind of fast and loose, but I just want to show you what happens when you do this. All right, that seems like a good example. We're going to turn this back on. I'm going to zoom in, and you're going to see what I did in the low layer. Very subtle, but I'm just adjusting the color. I'm going to do this a little more extreme. I'm going to bump this up to, say, 20%. And now I'm going to really start moving the color around. I'm going to turn off this high layer here. I'm just going to, now you can see that I am really pushing pixels. Let's bring that down to like 5. Happy medium. So I can go in here and I can slowly build up. I can smooth out these color transitions and make for something a little more organic. I generally want to use my flow as sort of a build-up process and gradually build up. That's gonna look awful, but at least it'll be profound for the example. All right, that's fine. That'll at least be dramatic so you can see the results. All right, so we've gone in here and we've done a little low frequency editing. Oops. So I am going to show you what we've done. We've done all of that. Wow, that's a lot. So as you can see, it's very powerful. Frequency separation is extremely powerful, which is why it oftentimes gets a lot of criticism when it comes to retouching. So if you are doing frequency separation as part of your retouching process, I encourage you to keep your settings low, so use a low flow and a very soft brush, and gradually build up as you edit. It's very easy to go overboard and make the skin look too perfect, and then it starts to look weird, and that's just not good retouching. What you want to do is you want things to look as natural as humanly possible, so be sure to use a light hand. Well, there you have it, everyone. That is my frequency separation setup process. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, I hope you consider liking and subscribing. I'd love to have you along as I continue to build my YouTube channel, and I'll see you at the next one.